This week in IT, a global phishing-as-a-service empire is taken down, Microsoft unbundles Teams to avoid EU fines, and even Microsoft says its AI Copilot may not pay for itself. So stay tuned for all the latest. Welcome to This Week in IT, the show where I talk about everything connected to Microsoft 365, Azure, and Windows. Today's episode is sponsored by our friends at Chaosoft. Microsoft and Cloudflare have been working again. If you remember last week, we were talking about how they're working together to provide a new natural language interface for the web and to potentially change the internet. But this week they've been working together on security. So what's been going on? This week, law enforcement were able to remove many malicious servers and domains connected to a phishing as a service kit. It was sold as a subscription service on the chat app Telegram for $600 a year. This service was called Raccoon 0365. But what it essentially did was create a phishing campaign that would send emails to users, encouraging them to enter their Microsoft 365 username and password. So we've all seen emails where, for instance, you get an email that looks like it's from Microsoft saying that maybe your account is being hacked and you need to reset your password or something like that. But when you click on the login page in these emails, it takes you to a fake page that looks quite realistic. You enter your username and password, and bingo, the hackers have got access to your credentials, which they can then potentially use to log into the real Microsoft 365. This kit was very widely used. We know that it was used in 94 countries to steal Microsoft credentials. So could this have been prevented? Well, if you have multi-factor authentication enabled for your Microsoft 365 users, then probably you would have not been victim to this attack. So when you have MFA, so multi-factor authentication enabled, essentially this means that you need more than just a username and password. You need to either verify your identity using biometrics, maybe Face ID if you've got an Apple phone, for instance, or maybe by entering a code, a one-time login code. There are various ways that this works, but there needs to be a third thing, something that you have rather than just something that you are and you know, which is your password. So that would have been a big step in blocking this kind of attack. And while Microsoft recommends that multi-factor authentication is enabled for high-risk users, so administrator accounts to your Entra ID or Microsoft 365 tenants, essentially they're suggesting that you should enable multi-factor authentication for all of your users or move to passwordless logons. Before I go on to the next story, I've got a quick favor to ask you. If you found this video useful, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification to make sure you get these weekly news updates from Petri.com. We've talked a little bit in the past about Slack's antitrust case against Microsoft in the EU on this channel, and this week the EU has accepted a proposal from Microsoft that in the EU, it will unbundle Teams from the Microsoft and Office 365 subscriptions that it offers, and it will reduce the price of those subscriptions and allow users and organizations to license Teams separately. Now, if you're already on a subscription plan that has Teams bundled in the EU, Microsoft has said it's now going to offer those lower prices to those organizations. But the EU has still put some stipulations that Microsoft must make sure that for the next 10 years, Teams as a chat app must be interoperable with other apps like Slack and Zulip. And the European Commission has said that they will be monitoring Microsoft's compliance with these rules. Now, this is interesting. It's something that Microsoft offered to avoid fines from the EU and to be able to continue operating in the EU without some heavy penalty for bundling Teams. Of course, Slack saw that that was anti-competitive and that the bundling of Teams with Office was giving Microsoft an unfair disadvantage, if you like. This week, Microsoft announced that it's going to be adding agents to Teams. So this is interesting because we already have AI in Teams. We have access to Copilot, chat if you have a subscription. If you have something like Teams Pro, then you have access to meeting summaries and all the good things that the AI is doing there. But the agents are going to be a different feature. According to The Verge, these facilitator agents are now going to sit in Teams meetings, creating agendas, taking notes, and even potentially answering questions. Agents can also suggest a time for different meeting topics, letting participants know if they're running over, for instance, and even create documents and tasks. This is also going to work on mobile. You just need to activate it with a single tap, apparently. While these facilitator agents are available right now, they're saying that the ability to create documents and tasks is still in a preview, so you might not see that right away. So I'm guessing these facilitator agents can do quite a lot more than the kind of more static AI functionality that we see in Teams Premium that does a very specific set of fixed things, if you like. These agents are able to be a little bit more flexible and will maybe do things automatically. If somebody's asking a question in a meeting, it might be that this AI agent is able to go off, find the necessary information, and even provide an answer right there and then in the meeting. Don't know, haven't seen how this works yet exactly, but from my understanding, that is what they will be able to do. And that's, of course, a step above what we see in Teams Premium today. At a Goldman Sachs conference this week, Microsoft executive Jared Spataro said that many organizations can't justify the $30 a month cost for each user for Copilot, even though organizations are saying they're getting a 20 to 30% increase with user productivity. The numbers still just don't add up. We also know that up to 70% of Fortune 500 companies have adopted Copilot to some extent. Of course, we don't know how much they're actually using it in practice, but Microsoft is emphasizing that this AI technology should be used for automating really mundane tasks like summarizing meetings and drafting emails, but they're acknowledging that there isn't enough real-world return on investment data to show that it's worth that $30 per user a month. Now, I think a lot of this is to do with the fact that organizations just don't know at the moment how to really utilize Copilot effectively. While you've got all these obvious things that Microsoft is saying, well, you can use it to summarize a document or audio transcription from a meeting. It's all kind of built in there with Teams. Of course, you can do all that stuff, and I would hope that Copilot users are aware they can do that stuff with it. But I think it's the more advanced functionality that we're going to see coming with agents. We already have that. You have the ability to create an agent. You can even create the agent using natural language in Copilot Studio. And you can create your own agents, and I think that's where the real power of this is going to lie. But, even though Microsoft has made it as simple as they possibly can, you still need to have a bit of background knowledge about how all of these things work. And while you can, in principle, create an agent using natural language, the chances of it working exactly as you want it to, straight out of some kind of natural language prompt in Copilot Studio, are not that high, to be honest. So you need to have some background about, once you've got that basic agent there, how do you modify it? How do you work with it to really get it to do exactly what you want it to do? And of course, that's not something that many users are going to be prepared to do. And you need a little bit of, maybe not developer knowledge, but you need to have some understanding of how all that Power Automate stuff works in the background. And I think that's where the real power lies. Now, this week I was talking to Jaime Blasco at Nudge Security, and he noted that actually a lot of these big AI projects in organizations are failing, but what is succeeding are the AI projects that normal users are implementing at a lower level, maybe per department. And that's really interesting, because I think it's once the ordinary worker is able to work with this technology to create agents to, do complex things, link things together, and to automate a lot of that background stuff that is beyond just summarizing a document or performing a search, or these really basic things that most people are now comfortable doing in AI. We won't really see the full power of something like Copilot. But I think while $30 per user a month is a bit steep at this stage, once organizations are able to realize the full power of this technology, they might be able to show a return on investment. But I'd love to know what you think about it in the comments below. If you found this video useful, I'd really appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up, because it helps to get it seen by more people on YouTube. I'm going to leave you with another video now about the bug fixes from last week's Patch Tuesday. I'd like to thank again the sponsors of this video, Chaosoft. That's it from me for this week, and I'll see you next time.